So I think, yes, the presentation by all the panelists has finished. Thank you very much. So it's very difficult to have a rough taking because the information provided is very, very abundant and useful. I'll try anyway. Yes, everyone has presented. Well, in one word, I'm overwhelmed by the how each of the presenters indicated the efforts done by the companies, organizations, governments to develop a promising technology. So, and the presentation also showed example of an entire system application adapting to the social needs, like which is, for example, the Daikin company showed several systems which applied to the buildings and of course Nakaoka-san did that, and Sasaki-san also has showed some of the examples of social application of a range of, it's not a single technology, but a range of system applying some technology. And the other taking is that this is, yes, Sasaki-san and I think Mr. Gasho, there is certain commonality in different expressions maybe about how policy framework can affect the technology development, or in other words, how policy framework can address barriers, or how policy framework itself may have a possibility to become barriers. So I think policy framework and technology development is the interrelation is very, very an important matter, and the from the presentation from Canada also addressed the importance of policy framework on technology application to SMEs. So yeah. Anyway, it's very difficult to have a takings in a few lines, but. And talking about digitalization, I think the keyword was addressing the least engaged. I think this is one of the most important thing to address some, for example, SMEs or who are not ready or who has less information, and the personalization. I'm not really sure if that's equal to customization or, well, sorry if I'm wrong, but and of course, I think I found some of the commonalities with professionals or experts try to identify the issues and if possible by using digital, and have some kind of a measured result, and then addressing something, and to have a concrete result. It's maybe it has certain analogy with what I have explained about addressing, you know, first in the audit or consultation, and to bring it to solution. So tell me if I'm wrong, but and the importance of utilizing data as much as possible I'm not sure if this is related only to big data, but not necessarily, but using maximum data. So I think, yes, there might be a better takings on what has been presented. And here, I think I have 25 minutes. I have to finish it by within 25 minutes, so else I think my staff will come to drag me home. Okay. Yes, so some questions. Yes, I want to address pose some questions to Canada first. I think Canada. Ms. Bennett, you've addressed some of the obstacles, or about how provinces have different policy systems or jurisdictions, etc. And amid that kind of situation, the federal government has trying to solve that question in order to have a kind of a consistent energy policy, demand side policy related to address the to improve the energy efficiency. So just my question is, yes, so how much federal government has been consulting the provinces in order to align as much as possible the different system of each province in Canada? And the second question is, you talked about the policy of applying technologies for CO2 reduction and improvement of energy efficiency to SMEs. So in that case, I personally think that it's sometimes difficult to apply technology to SMEs, because the SMEs should be ready on what technology should be applied. Someone has to make some judgments or measurements. So can you answer these two questions? Yeah, sorry that it's not very precise.
No, absolutely. I'm happy to speak to that. So the answer about how often the federal government is interacting with provinces and territorial governments, and the answer is all the time. A couple examples I'll give. So these are more on the residential side, but we do aim to coordinate closely with programs. And the example I was going to give is there's a residential program called the Greener Homes Grant. There's also a new one focused on heat pumps called the Oil to Heat Pump Grant, where we're really aiming to deliver the program together. So the federal government will usually be supporting a provincial program that already exists with financial support, and the province, sometimes through their energy supplier, will be delivering the program so that the citizens are actually able to just get one program, but get additional support from both the federal and provincial or territorial governments. So that requires a lot of collaboration. We've got formal and informal ways where we're working directly with provinces and territories, but it really requires some constant discussion, assessing different priorities that the different governments have, and finding solutions that ultimately benefit Canadians that live all over the country. The second question about, getting the benefit of energy efficiency to small and medium enterprises, I completely agree with your assessment. This is pretty challenging because it means the small and medium enterprises need the capacity and staff to assess the building they work in or their processes, and that's in addition to doing whatever the business does, and so they don't often have that capacity. So the model that I've seen work well is the direct install model, where a program will have a contractor come in directly and and both assess what upgrades need to be made and then complete them. And the benefit there is that the SME doesn't even have to deal with any invoices, paying for things up front and waiting for financial support. They just receive the technology as well as support in actually making sure that it's working. And that can really help, and that can be a way. And especially for small and medium enterprises, a lot of times, if they're in a retail space, they're not, manufacturing something. A lot of the technologies they need will be the same, so it's easily repeatable versus a manufacturing company with very specialized processes. And so I think that's an area. But the programs that I mentioned really do support also building that capacity in-house. So with companies, also allow them to be able to manage their energy better themselves going forward, in addition to providing that direct install support in the nearer term. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. Yes, yes. Just for everybody's information, in the case of Japan, for example, I think many of the we don't call province but prefectures. They also are starting to provide some fundings to the energy efficient equipments introducing. So in that case, many of the systems, I believe, requires, for example, audits, the result of audits and some proposals, or some kind of a long-term or mid-term actual plans for CO2 reduction. And judging by the feasibility of those programs, the regional government may decide whether to provide fundings in order to judge whether this is feasible or not. Actually, my organization, ECCJ, is helping the SMEs and other companies to plan CO2 reduction. Yes, that's how it works. But anyway, thank you so much for your information. The second question is regarding, it's related to Sasaki-san, that in Japan, I think he has explained about this demand response, which arises from an increased utilization of solar power, in addition to the base loads, which is in a good direction, of course, but especially for solar power, the daily fluctuation, seasonal fluctuation is increasing. So it eventually means that this, in addition to suppliers, the end users control adjustment of electricity demand and supplies. The role of end users is increasing. So in response to that, I think I understand that Sasaki-san has just proposed at the current level of technology development, the DR response system is one of the solution. And I just want to ask other panelists or other audience whether this is peculiar for Japan or in Europe or the other countries. This is the same because the renewables, including solar and wind energy, it is not base load in general. It's a peak load. So eventually, I imagine that there are more or less kind of a similarity regarding the necessity to control from the end user side, but I'm not sure about that. So this is my question. Can anyone answer this question, or maybe my question itself is not adequate. I'm not sure.
Well, thank you for question. As you said, the ratio of power source depends on the country and the region. But of course, wind power is base load. But wind power is not stable. And of course, the ratio of power source is different from each country. But however, renewable energy is increasing to the future. Demand response is important at all country and region. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone have from
yeah, maybe
yes,
just to complete, the increasing of electricity demand with the use of more electricity will increase the need of demand response. I think in the next future, if we follow the target that we have for carbon neutrality, if we use the share of electricity that is needed to reach these targets, we will need to have the more production maybe, but also to manage the use of the energy. So yeah, demand response will be a good answer to that.
Okay, thanks. Thank you so much. Yes, here I have one proposal that since including session 2 and including session 1, 2, 3, I think heat pumps are one of the technologies or equipment which is very focused on. It's a really important one. So if the panelists have some questions to other presentation regarding heat pumps, can you ask each other? Because some of the presentation are very technical in nature. So maybe for those who understand that kind of technical specification, etc., it might be better. So this is my proposal. So I don't know whether you, for example, okay, Nakaoka-san, do you have some questions to other presentations with regard to heat pumps?
Questions related to technical aspects, or because I think I understand how the heat pump works basically. Maybe it's not exactly a question, but it was interesting to hear Mr. Gashon's presentation about what are the challenges to introduce heat pumps in the industrial sectors, because although the application-wise, what I explained are different, the temperature requirements are very different for industry and SME or residential applications. But I also saw the common aspects that need to be tackled. For example, the initial cost and operation cost. And then especially if we talk about operation cost, we have to also, it's interesting to also look at the different cost difference between the electricity and gases, etc. So maybe these things are a bit of takeaway from my side. It's not exactly a question.
No, it's really a useful question, I think. So can you answer to that question? Or and if you have some questions after the answer, it's almost welcome. Or anyone.
I'm not sure to get the right question you asked, but I'm gonna answer. If it's not the question you ask, don't hesitate to repeat it. But what I understood is the question you were asking is what are the main barrier, and you were speaking about the economical barrier compared to the energy gain that you can have with heat pumps. I think if I take France, for example, because this is the example I know the best, the spread between electricity and gas price is around 3, okay? And sometimes in industry, if I take an example in the paper industry, the heat needs is around 150 degrees. You can lower that a bit if you work with the industry and if you work with the dryer manufacturer and so on, but you can't lower it more than 30 degrees. If you do that, you will have always the waste heat, which is the mist. It will be around 60 to 80 degrees. The delta T from these two values gave you the performance of the system that you will have. But the process is that, and the product is that. So you need this temperature, and you have this temperature. So maybe sometimes you will not be able to reach the CRP of 3 that permit you to be profitable with the heat pump solution. That's why I was speaking about OPEX subsidies, because for these industries, if you have a spread of 3 between gas and electricity, it will be difficult to be profitable if the gas and electricity price continue to have this spread. So that's why it's important to show these particular things and have some ideas to tackle it. The lowering the electricity price, production price could be an idea, but and the increasing price of CO2 apply on gas production and consumption could be a solutions, but it's markets for some of the consumption. So the spread will be difficult to beat sometimes. I don't know if it's answering your question, but
Okay, thank you. Any comments on that? No, Sasaki-san? No, you don't have any comments? No, I mean, no. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Does anyone in the audience have some questions about or comments? No? Okay. Okay, thank you. So I turn now to digitalization. So Ian, I think you made a very good presentation. So in some more concrete terms, you may, of course, you don't have to cite a company name or something, but maybe you just show a notion or steps, using data, analyzing. So to put it in a more kind of a specific terms, can you show the example? And this number one. And number two is in session 2, I think digitalization and visualization, and yes, those notions are, I think the importance of visualization has came on board. So is the way Oracle is tackling that question has commonalities, or it's very much different, or yes, I just wanted to understand that kind of point.
Yeah, definitely. Start with the first question. To explain maybe in a bit more concrete terms what it looks like to take data and turn it into customer action. I think the easiest way to think about it is from the perspective of an energy user. A utility has so much data, and one of the things that platforms like the OPower platform can do is apply that data to machine learning models to answer questions about end energy usage. Many of you are probably familiar with these terms: presence detection, disaggregation. We can identify with some degree of confidence how end users are using energy, even if those end users have not told us how they're using energy. It's quite helpful because what can happen then from the perspective of the household is they may purchase an electric vehicle, but may not know that an electric vehicle appropriate rate exists somewhere at the utility that could save them money. What we will do with the utility is we will collect the data, we will run it through our models, and then we will identify on the utility's behalf that that customer is very likely to have an electric vehicle. We can cross-layer that identification with more data to identify that the customer is not on the appropriate rate. And then what we'll do is we'll go back to the utility and we'll say, hey, we should send a message to this customer to let them know that this rate exists. There are a number of benefits really across the board to that type of application. The first is to the customer because they sign up for a rate that saves them money over time. The second is to a utility. Often utilities that are rolling out time-varying rates or rates appropriate, especially for electric vehicle charging, have goals that they need to meet, numbers of customers who need to sign up for that type of rate. Being able to take the technology, apply it to data, and then work it through a customer's actual experience that can connect that customer to a rate that maybe they would never know exists, because even as an energy nerd myself, I don't spend much time looking at my energy rates. And that's true, I think, of most people. So with this type of applied technology, you can solve some of those problems that are otherwise really quite difficult to solve. Remind me again the second question.
Thank you so much. Yes, it's very, yeah, it's really good to have the clear answer, and thank you so much. I think my knowledge is yes, becoming, yes, it's getting clear.
My pleasure.
So I can continue more, but I think for the sake of time, I think we're coming to an end, and I would like to thank once again all the panelists, including the online Ms. Minute, and the speakers now on the floor. So thank you so much for the very informative discussion. And could you please give a warm applause once again to all the panelists?